Hello, I'm back again this time to review sort of the GoPro, and more specifically I'm going to be reviewing the newish Wi-Fi BAC device. So you probably know the GoPro. It is the camera of fail blog on the internet. If there's somebody getting their bones broken, their head concussed, or just falling off a building while they think they're going to be doing parkour, or however you pronounce it, this is the camera that probably caught them on the way down to their bloody demise. It's a lovely little camera. It's relatively inexpensive. It's being used everywhere. It's enclosed in a waterproof housing. It's got a very big wide-angle lens, although you can pull it in. The wide-angle lens is particularly helpful because it minimizes shake. It's an illusion, just like zooming in makes shake look worse. Taking it wide makes shake look less, and that's particularly good for action video. There are straps to put them on your head, to your chest, to your arm, go scuba diving. It's a great little camera. It has a couple problems with it though. The first is that to save space it has no viewfinder. You can't see what you're shooting, which isn't too bad when you're in wide angle mode, but you also have no way to run the menus here on the back. There's a small display on the front, and it's a question of using these two buttons to cycle through the menus if you want to set the frame rate, the resolution, what type of pictures, stop motion intervalometer, any number of things. So you can buy an additional device to go on the back to be a viewfinder, but recently GoPro came out with something even better, and that is this Wi-Fi BAC device. Now this is also combined with a remote control that will come with it. And so let me show you how it works. So normally your GoPro's inside of a case. In fact, you really basically can't use it without the case because there's no way to mount it. You take the Wi-Fi BAC and attach it and snap it on. Now that makes the GoPro bigger, so it won't fit in the case anymore. So they also provide both waterproof and non-waterproof back cases, and we'll just use the non-waterproof one, although you can't really tell the difference. And camera goes in there, case clamps up, and you've now got the GoPro in its, once again inside of the case and usable, this time with a Wi-Fi BAC. So if you look on, say, Amazon.com, you'll see quite a few negative reviews of this device. And if you read through those, you'll see that the reason, in most cases, is GoPro really overpromised on this. When they came out with it, they said, you know, you'll be able to stream video to your smartphone or iPad and control it from there. Well, when it came out a few months ago, they didn't have the iPhone app ready. And I don't think they have the Android app even now. So all you got was this and the remote. Well, yeah, okay, this is nice. The remote has a mirror of the display, and it also has, you know, mode button, the same two buttons, and so you can control it, but still doesn't get you that streaming video effect that you were hoping for. So just last week, or the week before, GoPro finally came out with the iOS version of their app, and so I finally decided to buy one of these, and I really like it. It's great. You can now set up your shots. You can see where it's pointed. Like if you want to mount it on your car, you know, outside the car, you now can be in the car and see what the camera is viewing. It also gives you the ability to change all the settings on the GoPro from the iPad or the iPhone. And that's great because it's a lot less hassle than going through the menus, and it gives you a little bit more options towards artistically setting up your shot. Because sometimes, you know, the default is just go with the GoPro with wide angle mode, but that may not be true. You put it inside of a car, for example. Let's say you're mounting it in front of the driver, maybe where the mirror is. If it's in wide angle mode, you really take in quite a lot of the car. If you put it in medium wide angle, you're still going to take in all of the driver and the passenger in the back of the car, but it's a lot tighter shot, and it's not as distracting. I think it's a better shot. Artistic purposes might be different, but you wouldn't really do that if you didn't have some way to look at the shot, because you just put it up there and you'd start it and you'd go, because you can't see it until you take it down, break it out, pull out the SD card, hook it up to something, view the picture. So anyway, that's a huge improvement, and I love that. And I'll show you how it works here in just a second. I'm also going to go through a couple disadvantages at the same time. The first is it's relatively hard's not the right word, slow to get it set up and ready to go. First off, I'm going to have to turn on the Wi-Fi back, and it's going to come on, and that sets up a wireless access point that's broadcasting out. So you've got to configure that, and you have to do that on your, as far as I can tell, you had to do that on your computer. You have to download GoPro's, I forgot what it's called, but it's their Cine something software for doing 3D videos, if you had 2 GoPros in 3D, to do firmware updates. Just a little bit odd, but my camera needed 2 firmware updates, the Wi-Fi back needed a firmware update the day I bought it, the remote control needed a firmware update, and then that also went through the configuration process of setting up the wireless access point that's on the device. Now you note I turned the Wi-Fi back on, I did not turn the camera on. So I'm going to switch over here to the iPad, and I'm going to go to the first thing you have to do is you have to change your Wi-Fi to go onto the Wi-Fi being broadcast out from the GoPro. Now this is not a problem when you're in the field very often, because your iPad and your iPhone are going to look for networks it already knows and connect to them. But if you're at home, like I am now, it's going to try to stay on my home network, and any little glitch and it will try to shift one to the other. So sometimes you lose the connectivity if you've got a strong access point in the area. But I've switched over to the GoPro, or I've switched over to the GoPro's network, and now I'm going to bring up the GoPro app, and the first thing it's going to ask me to do is to connect. Here's an annoying one. You can't, it doesn't rotate automatically to fit the screen this way. So I'm going to turn it on, and first thing I can do here is it's showing that it's on that device, and I'm going to turn on the camera. You see, the camera just kicked itself on. And it's showing me here that it's in video mode, that the battery is pretty good, it's got strong Wi-Fi, and there's nothing on the card. And it's also started the preview. And I'm just going to move the camera around here a little bit, and we can see that the preview is working. You can also see that there's a minimum of 3-second delay. So if you're trying to use this for live, tracking a plane or somebody running, it's not going to work. This is for setting up a shot and perhaps running through it, but it's not going to be like a true real-time viewfinder. Nonetheless, it's still an amazing improvement. The next thing that we can do is, of course, we can go into the settings and we can change the camera mode. You've got your camera, video camera, still camera, multi-shot camera, intervalometer, and timer shot. There's a locate camera function. Presumably you've placed your GoPro somewhere and you've forgotten where it was, so this will cause it to beep until you find it, I guess. And then finally we can go into settings here, and as you can see, now that one of course will rotate and allow us to look at it sideways. So, I can set the video resolution, field of view, time-lapse interval, all this stuff. This is so much easier to do here and get it set up to run the camera. But it's just, it's a bit fiddly. It's about the best I can say. Is you just have to kind of take your time. This is not for quick setups, but it is great, and I'm really enjoying it. Now, one thing I'm not sure about is the Wi-Fi back has its own battery, and you have to charge it separately, and the GoPro has its own battery, of course, and you have to charge that separately. Since I've put the Wi-Fi back on here, the GoPro's battery life seems to have diminished. I don't know if I've got a bad battery now all of a sudden, or whether or not it's somehow drawing power from it. But your mileage probably will vary on that one. Overall, it's a great little product. It's really added some value to my GoPro. So I would recommend it. It's only, let's say $99, but it might actually be only $89. It's around $100. And it addresses a serious deficiency in the way the GoPro works. So that's my take on it. Let us have your comments if you've got one.